Hi everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans for this Friday, January 25th, 2013. I'm Suri Serrano, and this is our daily show where we catch you up on all the latest movie news of the day with insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor John Campea.
It's Friday. Gotta get down with Friday. She's never heard that song. We were just talking about that song. She's never heard it, which is actually really good for her.
I'm going to hear it afterwards. And joining me to my right is film critic Jimmy O from JoBlo.com. Welcome.
Hello. I brought the hat back, by the way.
I love it.
Yeah, love the hat.
Rocking it out. Okay, so first up for the day. Obviously, the biggest news in the last 24 hours is the report that Star Trek director and creator of the TV show Lost, J.J. Abrams, has signed on to direct the upcoming Star Wars Episode 7. This would be a massive 180 change of heart for Abrams, who just back in November said this about possibly directing a Star Wars movie. Look, Star Wars is one of my favorite movies of all time. I almost feel that in a weird way, the opportunity for whomever it is to direct that movie, it comes with the burden of being that kind of iconic movie and series. I was never a big Star Trek fan growing up, so for me, working on Star Trek didn't have any of that, almost fatal sacrilege. And so I'm looking forward more than anyone to the next iterations of Star Wars, but I believe I will be going as a paying moviegoer. So John, are you surprised by this news? And do you think it's good for Star Wars to have Abrams on board?
I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm surprised. Look, J.J. Abrams clearly said, I'm not going to do it. But once again, we say it all the time in the show. When we report a rumor and then somebody says, oh, no, that rumor's not false because their PR person said it's not true. They lie. They lie. Just because a PR person or a guy says he's not doing it doesn't mean they're not doing it. Doesn't mean they are, but doesn't mean they're not. But, I kind of believe that Abrams meant it when he said it back in November when he said, look, I've said on this show before, I think a lot of top-name directors have shied away from Star Wars because of the way we movie fans have treated George Lucas. That we haven't just said, you've made bad movies, that's fair, because he made some bad movies with the prequels. But we have vilified him and demonized George Lucas. You raped my childhood and like terrible, horrible things. And I said before on this show last week that I believe a lot of A-list directors have taken a step back. And I think when you read in that comment, it's like, hey, there comes a pressure with Star Wars. And I think he's alluding to, we saw what you did to George Lucas. But Kathleen Kennedy, the new head of Lucasfilm, has been relentless and tireless in pursuing J.J. Abrams, and it looks like she got her guy. And you know what? Before I did not think this was a great fit. I still don't really think J.J. Abrams is a great fit. I also, as a sci-fi purist, feel like there's a little bit of sacrilege in having a Star Trek guy doing a Star Wars movie. All that being said, I've always said that it's never a mistake to recruit talent, and J.J. Abrams is a great director. He's a great storyteller. And so even while I had apprehensions about whether he's a good fit in the whole Star Trek v. Star Wars thing, I'm happy for it. I think this is good news, and I'm really excited to see what he does with it. What do you think, Jimmy?
I agree. When I first read that he wasn't doing it, in a way I was kind of relieved because I kind of like the idea of Star Trek being a separate animal. And as he said, he didn't love Star Trek growing up, so he could kind of approach it in a more, professional manner.
And in his own way.
Yeah, in his own way, without feeling like he owes something. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes with the film. And it's a little bit surprising. I'm with you on that. Star Trek and Star Wars, are they going to mix? I don't know. And that's an interesting idea.
One of the other things that we don't have in the story here is that along with this report, and we should mention here that so far, as of right now this morning on, what do we say today is the 26th?
Yeah.
As of this morning, neither Disney nor Lucasfilm has confirmed this report. But there's also been no denials. We know it's probably coming later today. That being said, in the report that came out that revealed that Abrams was going to do it was also that the guy they were going to next was Ben Affleck. Who, I've been saying for years, Ben Affleck, top 3 director in Hollywood today. When you look at Gone Baby Gone, when you look at The Town, and now his award-winning Argo, just won Best Director at the Critics' Choice Award, won Best Director at Golden Globes, won Best Film, is nominated for, and he might actually win now, Best Film with Argo. That would have been really fascinating to me. But I'm really really happy with this. But I gotta say this too, I really wanted Bird. I wanted.
Did you really?
I did. I
see,
wanted
no,
Brad Bird.
I wasn't digging that idea.
I wanted Brad Bird. I wanted Andrew Stanton. I mean, obviously everybody. I wanted Steven Spielberg, but I mean that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I think J.J. Abrams is a thumbs up, even if it's not my first choice or second choice. I think as a Star Wars fan, and those of you who've watched me for any period of time, you know I bleed Star Wars. I love Star Wars so much, and as a Star Wars fan, I sit back and go, yeah, I like this. J.J. Abrams doing it. Sign me up.
He's a solid choice, absolutely.
Agreed.
I just, we'll see. It all depends on the script. It all depends on what we've got going. Where.
And we're gonna get a much better, a really nice peek in thing because the new Tom Cruise movie, Oblivion, for those of you who may not know, is written by the guy who's writing Star Wars Episode 7. So you may want to make sure, if you weren't planning on going to see Oblivion, you might want to sneak out and see it to get kind of a feel for the writing style of this guy. It's going to be really interesting.
Smart. All right, assuming this news is true, what do you think this means for the future of Star Trek?
That's really the immediate question, isn't it? Because we got Star Trek Into Darkness coming out that a lot of us, including myself, are really looking forward to. Mm-hmm. I think this is it. I think J.J. Abrams will be done with Star Trek after this. Now, before anybody goes and jumps off any cliffs, look, franchises change directors all the time.
Yeah, they do.
And sometimes with bad results, but very often with really good results. It's not a bad thing to keep things fresh and move out. Look, Sam Raimi did the first 2 Spider-Man films. Awesome. Then he stuck around for the third.
Yeah.
And he lost his creativity. And the third Spider-Man film was terrible. And I think, look, Star Trek 1 was fantastic. I thought that movie was going to suck. I preached for a year how it was going to suck. And I had to eat my words because that movie was great.
It was.
I think Into Darkness looks awesome, but I think it's not a bad idea. Hey, hit 2 out of the park and then step away and go do something else. Keep your creativity fresh. I really do honestly think this is it. And I don't think he can exist in Star Trek and running that world and Star Wars running that world at the same time. I think he's going to be done with Star Trek and move on. Am I wrong?
I think you may be wrong, but I really think it depends on how well the Into Darkness the reaction it gets. I've seen 9 minutes of it, a little bit more possibly. It looks brilliant, and I think if it's really a massive hit, I don't know. I think he'd be crazy not to do it. But if he does do it, and he does Star Wars, there's going to be these movies aren't quick to make. They take a long time for a director. It takes years sometimes. So for him to take on those 2 projects at the same time, something's going to get lost. So he probably should step away if he's going to do Star Wars.
Let me ask you this. Let's assume, it's a big assumption, but let's play this game. Let's assume that Star Trek Into Darkness is great and it's a hit. And let's assume Star Wars Episode 7 under J.J. Abrams is a hit and it's really good. Which one are we more likely to see J.J. Abrams do next? Does he stay with Star Trek and do that? Or does he stay with Star Wars and do that?
I guess it depends on who pays him the most, right?
I guess so. All right.
Okay. Staying in the sci-fi genre, it is being reported that Warner Brothers is moving forward with a live-action Robotech movie and has hired on commercial director Nick Matthew to helm the project. For those of you not familiar with the animated series, the story is set in a future where humans have developed massive robots from a downed alien spacecraft on a South Pacific isle. Humanity is forced to battle waves of unrelenting invaders. Jimmy, this has been in the works for a while. Are audiences ready for a Robotech movie?
Well, let's see what happens when Pacific Rim comes out.
Yep.
Simple as that. I mean, you've got the funny thing about Hollywood, there's always some bizarre trend that just kind of hits, and every there's 20 movies about penguins. There's 20 movies about something else. So
volcanoes.
Volcanoes.
Yeah.
Are we going to see Robotech, Pacific Rim? I really think it depends on Pacific Rim and how well it does, and how creative. Because with Robotech, there's a huge story, and they could do so much with it. I really think they could make something interesting. But I don't know. Maybe it almost might be better to do something on television.
It's really weird. back in 2007, I even remember the coffee shop I was sitting in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And I first got the news that Tobey Maguire had signed on to produce and star in developing a Robotech movie. That was back in 2007. Now, in this new news that's come out about Warner Brothers has now hired a director, and it seems like they're moving forward, really noticeable by its absence is any mention of Tobey Maguire. I have no idea if he's still involved in this or not, because for a long time he was supposed to be the guy pushing this. And so, is he in it? Is he not? I actually am worried, though, that if a Pacific Rim is a huge hit and everybody loves it, that might actually hurt the chances of a Robotech. That even though Robotech's been around a lot longer and has been in development for like 5-6 years, that I think a lot of the public perception will be, it's a Pacific Rim ripoff.
You've got a point.
I'm worried about that.
You've got a point, because that does happen almost. Even when they release, what was it? The end of the world. There was Dante's Peak, and then there was
Volcano, Dante's Peak, and then you had 2012. You had like all these end of the world movies.
And usually the first couple do pretty well, and then people start going. But I think that's why I think almost another platform might be a better use for it. Doing a series or something.
A live action Robotech series would be really expensive.
Yeah, that's what I think would be a better.
But it would be way too expensive.
Be really. You know what? They could do a lot with. It depends on how they do it. You get someone good behind to create.
I have no doubt you do good, but I just think it would be cost prohibitive. I think it would be really cost prohibitive, when especially you're talking Robotech.
Maybe do not a regular series. Maybe do
a miniseries or something?
Yeah, a miniseries.
I don't know how you make the money on it, though.
I know.
It's a good question. I don't understand TV well enough.
All right, guys. Up next, buy or sell.
All right, so this is the segment of the show that I blatantly ripped off from ESPN. And that's fine. Basically, what's going to happen here is Suri's going to run down a couple of quick news stories, and Jimmy and I are going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Suri, what do we got up first?
Okay. The Wolverine opens in AMC theaters on July 26th, and the director of the film, James Mangold, is giving us a little insight into the new film. In a recent interview, Mangold said, "The wonderful opportunity for me with this film is that 90% of it takes place in Japan, and even though other elements remain constant from the other pictures, namely Hugh Jackman, we kind of got our chance to reboot the tone and go a little darker and a little deeper than they've gone before with this character. That was exciting for me. There is a significant amount of Japanese spoken in the movie, and the cast is almost entirely Japanese. So there is this wonderful sense of cross-pollination between a very Western character and a Far Eastern culture." So, John, buying or selling these details on the Wolverine?
Buy it. I'm a solid buy on this. I love, like, when you read the stories in the comics of Wolverine going out to Japan, they're some of the best stories in the Wolverine canon. I love the fact that they're going to integrate this whole Western versus Eastern kind of thing. He also mentioned in his quotes that he's looking at exploring Wolverine's berserker rage and all this kind of stuff. And I love the darker tone, because that is what he is in the comic books. In the comics, he is a darker tone character, so I'm buying.
Buy completely. I agree with everything you just said. I love the darker tone of the comics, and I don't want it to feel like some kind of, I don't know, sequel to the last film.
Right.
I love it. Yes, bring it on.
All right.
Bring it on.
Wow. Okay. The Weinstein Company is gearing up to go into production on a sequel to the 2000 film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That film was based on the fourth book of Wang Dulu's Crane Iron series. The sequel is said to be based on the fifth book called Silver Vase Iron Knight, which continues the adventures of Yushu Lee, played by Michelle Yeoh, in Crouching Tiger. So, Jimmy, buying or selling Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequel?
This is a hard one, because generally you release a sequel so many years later. Why? What's the point? But for this story, I think it's possible. I'm going to buy it. Because I do think it's a pretty timeless story. I think you could go places with it.
I'm going to sell this. I think it's too little too late. I think if you're going to do a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequel, you got to do it less than 13 years later. This is the story is really good. I haven't read the book myself, but I read like the 10-page synopsis of it, and it's a really good story and everything.
It's a great story.
But
it's a great book.
I believe it's too little too late. I'm going to sell it.
Okay. Producer of the developing new Conan film, The Legend of Conan, in which Arnold Schwarzenegger intends to star, says that the script is still in development, but that they're looking to sign up Peter Jackson's company, WETA Workshop, to do all of the effects. WETA is obviously most well known for doing the effects on the Lord of the Rings film and many others. John, buy or sell WETA for a new Conan movie.
I'm going to sell this. And the reason I'm going to sell this is because I think WETA is an amazing company. They're awesome. But the reason I'm selling this is I don't believe this Conan movie is going to get made. I think the box office results of The Last Stand, we talked about this, have sent a real shockwave through the future plans of Arnold Schwarzenegger in film. And WETA is not a cheap effects company. So now you're talking about a fairly big budget Conan movie with the results they just had from The Last Stand. I don't see it. I want it to happen. Let me be clear. I want it. I think this would be awesome. But I don't think it will happen, so I'm selling.
I'm going to buy it because I do think WETA is clearly an amazing company. They're groundbreaking, and I don't think Conan is necessarily dead. Again, I don't think they should. We talked about this earlier. I don't think they should focus on Arnold as much. I think he should be a smaller part of it, and find a way to get someone new and fresh. I even like Jason in the other one, even though it wasn't a great movie. But if they're going to do it, yes. They need WETA. They're great. They're great. So.
Okay. As most of you know, Family Guy creator and director of last year's comedy, Ted, Seth MacFarlane is hosting the Oscars next month. MacFarlane was announced as the host shortly after his hugely successful engagement of hosting Saturday Night Live. Expectations are high for MacFarlane, which has led some people to say that MacFarlane will be the best Oscar host of the last 10 years. Jimmy, buy or sell MacFarlane as the best Oscar host in the past decade?
Well, I guess we'll have to see it first, right? You know, I kind of buy it. I mean, Seth MacFarlane. Look, he whether you like his comedy or not, he's had several successful shows. He had a successful movie past summer with Ted, and he's an incredible musician. I mean, the Oscars are all show, and they put on the musical numbers, and they do all this stuff with a lot of people who really aren't very good at it. Anne Hathaway, and no offense, she was great in Les Mis, but not, as an Oscar host, her and James Franco, seriously. But he seems like the perfect host to be.
Yeah,
so.
I'm going to buy this.
Yeah,
and the reason I'm going to buy is because really, when you look down the list of the last 10 years, and I've got the list in front of me here, there's no real standout hosting job.
No.
Billy Crystal, I think, is timeless as a host of the Oscars. He's great. I thought Hugh Jackman did a pretty good job when he hosted. And I even think Jon Stewart did okay, even though I'm not big on TV personalities hosting the Oscars. I think he did okay. But then he had some real stingers. The Chris Rock, I love Chris Rock, but he was terrible as a host.
Yeah.
Ellen DeGeneres is maybe the worst hosting job of the past 10 years, other than Franco and Hathaway. And, of course, there's the Franco and Hathaway debacle. So because it wasn't a really strong last 10 years, yeah, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to say there is a pretty good chance he could end up being the best Oscar host of the past 10 years.
I'm going to agree with you.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, listen, that'll do for us. But while I got you, before you do anything else, take a second and click that subscribe button. Become one of our YouTube subscribers to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and it'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, our editorials, and, of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show. And listen, if you want an audio-only edition of the show so you can listen to it in your car or at work, whatever, hop on over to iTunes and just search for AMC Movie Talk. You'll find an audio-only version there, or find us on Stitcher. You'll find the links in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AMC Theaters. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/AMC Theaters. And once again, click that subscribe button. And listen, go out and see a movie tonight. Go on over to amctheaters.com. Get your theater and showtime information and tickets to all the movies currently playing.
Last Stand.
Last Stand.
Give it a weekend. Come on.
I want to thank our resident movie reviewer from JoeBlow.com, Mr. Jimmy O. Jim, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Our host for today, Miss Suri Serrano. Thanks so much, Suri.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you to you guys. And don't forget, the most important part of the show is not what we had to say, but it's what you have to say. Jump into the comments section and let us know your thoughts and opinions on all the topics we just talked about here. Thanks again for joining us. And until next time, my name's John Campia for AMC Movie News. Bye-bye.